Okay, so non defects. Okay, now as I told you that in non-stoichiometric defects it is not necessary to maintain the ratio of the atoms, combining atoms. For example, by formula whatever ratio is there, so that need not to be maintained in case of non-stoichiometric crystals. But if ions are involved in those crystals also, then electrical neutrality should be maintained, means number of positive should equal to number of negative. This should be there, but number of atoms for both in the given ratio is not compulsorily needed to be same. Cation may be more, anion may be less, or opposite of it also is possible. Okay, so considering this, we had discussed about two type of non-stoichiometric defects. One type of defects were metal excess defects, and second type of defects were metal deficient defects. Okay, now metal excess defects we had started that day. In metal excess defects, again we have two types. One was due to anionic vacancy. Okay, metal can be excess if there is vacancy due to anion, or you can say due to anionic deficiency or anionic vacancy. And second type of metal excess defect may be due to extra cation, means metal can be excess by two ways. Either the anion becomes less, so it will be more, or already extra cation is there, then it will be metal excess. So both the type of defects are possible. I remember in the previous class we had discussed about due to anionic vacancy. Okay, metal excess defect due to anionic vacancy. So we will just recall it again. What was there in this due to anionic vacancy? We had discussed that in some crystals, like a crystal of NaCl made up of Na positive, Cl negative, Na positive, Cl negative, again Cl negative here, Na positive here, Cl negative, Na positive. Only two rows we are making just to understand it. Now in such crystals, when such crystals are heated in the vapors of the same metal, if it is NaCl, vapors of Na, if it is LiCl, vapors of lithium, just like that. So when it is heated in the vapors of sodium, Na vapors, then what happens? Na gets deposited on the surface of crystal. Now anion from inside comes to combine with the sodium present on surface to make it stable. When it comes to combine, then what will happen? There will be anionic vacancy here, because chlorine is coming from here and moving to the surface. When chlorine as Cl negative is coming here, it will combine with Na. So Na has to lose electron to become Na positive, then only it can combine with Cl negative to form compound. So when this Na releases electron, here is a anionic vacancy created. In this vacancy, now suppose if this vacancy is created, then we can see that now the crystal is not neutral charge wise. Positive is more than negative, because negative has been shifted from here. So to maintain the neutrality, I told whether the crystal is non-stoichiometric, number of positive may not be number of positive type of atoms may not be equal to negative type of atoms, but positive charge and negative charge should be equal. So to maintain that, what will happen? The electron which this sodium has released will come and occupy this space. Okay. these centers, these places where electrons occupy space are very important places and known as F centers. I think that we had not discussed about F centers. These F centers, why they are important? Because these F centers impart characteristic colors to the crystals. The crystals become colorful because these electrons absorb the light which falls on them, and after absorbing they release it back also. So when they release energy, the energy falls in certain visible region, and for sodium chloride crystal this energy falls in the yellow region. That is why the crystal of NaCl appears yellow in color. And these centers you have to remember, F centers. This is one of the favorite questions to be asked again and again. What are F centers? How F centers? These are responsible for, what is the importance of F centers? Because they are responsible for the color of the crystal. Similarly, if NaCl crystal is yellow in color, LiCl crystal is pink in color, and KCl crystal is violet in color. These colors are also imparted because of electrons present in F centers, or you can say anionic vacancies. So this is about metal excess defect due to anionic vacancy. Clear? Now we will come to metal excess defect due to extra cation. This is also very important. Almost every alternate year there is question from this, due to extra cation. You will see the question papers of last 5 years. You will observe question from this. Even you can say 2 consecutive years also question is there from this, for 1 mark, not for more marks, but 1 mark question is there. Now due to extra cation, this happens. This type of metal excess defect due to extra cation occurs in ZnO. Example also you will remember. In a crystal of ZnO, just like Zn2 positive, just like NaCl, O2 negative, Zn2 positive, O2 negative, alternate positive negative ions will be present. Zn2 positive, then Zn2 positive, O2 negative, Zn2 positive, again O2 negative, Zn2 positive, O2 negative. Little part of the crystal we will make. Now in these crystals, what happens when these crystals are heated? It will not be visible there if I write. In these type of crystals, when they are heated, what happens? ZnO on heating forms Zn2 positive ion plus half O2 gas plus 2 electrons are released. When such crystals are heated, ZnO is in combined state in the crystal. Though lattice sites are occupied by ions, but actually it is a crystal of ZnO. So it dissociates into Zn2 positive, half O2 and 2 electrons. Now not all ZnO dissociates because we are heating it slightly. So some of the ZnO molecules dissociate to form Zn2 positive, oxygen and electron. Now this oxygen will be liberated and this Zn2 positive somewhere shifts in the interstitial spaces, in the gaps between the crystals which we call as voids. Here they have shifted. Now there is extra cation. So this is metal excess defect due to extra cation. Okay, extra cation has entered into the interstitial space. Now see, the stoichiometry is disturbed. Number of zinc are more than number of oxygen, but because the defect type is non-stoichiometric defect, it is okay. But we should not disturb the neutrality of the crystal, and in this case the neutrality of the crystal is disturbed because number of positive charges are more than the number of negative charges. So what happens? Whatever electrons were released, they also occupy some other interstitial space. Some interstitial space is occupied by zinc, some are occupied by electron. Again these electrons are absorbing energy and give characteristic color to the crystal which makes the color of zinc oxide crystal to appear as yellow on heating. Before heating, the color of zinc oxide is white. The crystal of zinc oxide appears white in color. But once it is slightly heated, its color turns yellow. And this is the question which is asked in the exam, that why zinc oxide crystal appears yellow in color on heating. So the reason is this only, that on heating, the zinc oxide dissociates to form Zn2 positive, oxygen and electron. Oxygen is gas, so it is liberated. Now zinc shifts into the interstitial spaces and the electrons are also entering in the interstitial spaces to maintain electrical neutrality, and these electrons give characteristic color to the crystal by absorbing light. This is all about your metal excess defect due to extra cation. Clear? Now we will come to next type of defect, that is metal deficient defect. Only one defect is there. Due to that, now metal deficient defect. Now how this defect occurs? The best example for this type of defect is FeO crystal. Ferric oxide crystals show metal deficient defect. How it shows this defect? According to the formula, the ratio of iron and oxygen should be 1:1 because they are FeO. They are combining in the ratio 1:1. But when the crystals of these FeO were studied, it was found the ratio is not 1:1, but the ratio is Fe 0.9501. Means the percentage or the ratio of iron is little less as compared to oxygen. So the percentage is less, that is okay because it is non-stoichiometric defect. We can have the amount of cation and anion unequal. Now why this type of defect arises? These type of defects will be visible in those type of crystals which show variable valencies. Like iron shows valency Fe2 positive and Fe3 positive, and this defect occurs only because of this reason. Now suppose Fe2 positive, O2 negative, Fe2 positive, O2 negative, 2 positive, wait, opposite, O2 negative, Fe2 positive, O2 negative, Fe2 positive, again Fe2, O2 negative, Fe2 and O2 negative. Now in such crystal, suppose some of the lattice points, cationic sites, instead of Fe2 positive are occupied by Fe3 positive. Okay. Now suppose, yes, then what will happen? In this case we are seeing that the number of cation and anion are equal, but the charges are not equal. So what happens to make the charges equal? What is there? At some places Fe2 positive should be missing. Okay. Now suppose at two places, okay, now at two places Fe3 positive has entered the crystal instead of Fe2 positive, and here it was already Fe2 positive. Now what is there? Number of positive atoms and negative atoms are equal, but neutrality is not maintained in this crystal because positive charge is more than the negative charge. So to maintain that, what happens? To neutrality maintaining is essential in non-stoichiometric crystals. The ratio of atoms may be different. So this iron is removed from the crystal automatically to maintain its neutrality. Now the two positive charge which was present here is neutralized because of this extra charge present here and here. So but if we see, this is a metal deficient defect because metal is less as compared to anion present. Okay, so this is metal deficient defect occurring in those which shows variable valencies, and best example is FeO crystal. Okay, now non-stoichiometric type of defects are over. Now we have to come to last, that is impurity defect. See, impurity defect is natural also and artificial also. Sometimes it naturally occurs that when the crystallization of crystals of certain elements are taking place, then some of the cations are already associated with them and they get crystallized along with the main crystal. For example, when NaCl crystal is formed, strontium is naturally incorporated in the crystal of it. So that type of defect is naturally occurring impurity defect. Sometimes to make semiconductors we have to do doping, means mixing of certain metals or ions in the crystal which naturally is not doped. So that process is called doping, and that also is an impurity type of crystal, but that is not naturally occurring when you are making semiconductors. Okay. So next is impurity defect. Now in this case I told you that when NaCl crystal gets crystallized, some of the points lattice points, cationic sites, are occupied by some other metal. For example, in sodium chloride, strontium is occupying the cationic site. Now again in this defect also, what is important to maintain is neutrality. If a crystal is ionic crystal, neutrality is must to be maintained. So what is there? In this case, one of the sodium, it is just similar to the previous defect, metal deficient defect, but here some impurity. In that case there was no impurity. Iron was mixed with iron only, Fe2 positive, Fe3 positive. Here there is mixing of some other, sodium is mixed with strontium, that is why its name is impurity defect, but the type of defect is similar. So there is a cationic vacancy created here, and because of this cationic vacancy, what happens? Whenever there is vacancy, there are chances for the charges to move, and these increase the conductivity, electrical conductivity of the crystals. So those crystals which have impurity defects are more conducting in nature because the charges get placed to move. From one place to another, charges are moving, that means the flow is taking place. Okay, so strontium is here, that is why one sodium has to be removed to maintain the neutrality. Okay, so this is about your all type of defects which are there in this chapter. Remember the examples for each type of defect. Examples are also very important to remember. Okay, so this is all about the theoretical part of this chapter. Okay, now I told you that day that some questions are very important which are asked from this chapter. We will discuss those questions today in the remaining time. Let us first take from your book. A compound is formed by two elements X and Y. Did we discuss this question?
Yes, ma'am.
Both? Only one we had discussed or two? Okay, let us do second one. Atoms of element B form HCP lattice. Okay, whenever in question it is given that a particular element, here they have given the name B. B is forming the lattice. That means the number of particles of B are n. This we have to assume. And those of element A, another element is A, occupy 2/3 of the tetrahedral voids. So first we should know that number of tetrahedral voids are always double the number of particles. If the particle number is n, tetrahedral voids are 2n. But all tetrahedral voids are not occupied by A. In question it is given that only 2/3 of the tetrahedral voids are occupied by particle A or the another atom A. So what is the formula of the compound? This is equal to actually 4/3n. So A is to B is equal to 4/3n is to n. Okay. A is to B is 4:3. Formula of the compound is A4B3. Okay. So according to the language of the question, we will just give the formulas for various compounds which are given. More question. A compound forms hexagonal closed packed structure. What is the total number of voids in 0.5 moles of it? 0.5 moles. This is a question that any particular compound is given to you. It is present in HCP and you have to calculate the total number of voids which are present in the 0.5 mole, not 1 mole of the particular substance. So if it is not 1 mole, if it is 1 mole, then we can easily assume that it is equal to Avogadro number. Okay. But it is not 1 mole, it is 0.5 mole. So automatically the number is 3.0 into 10 to the power 23. These many number of particles are present in the given substance which is HCP. In these type of questions where we have to derive the formula or find the number of atoms, this HCP and this have no use. It is just to confuse. Only thing you have to remember is that you have to derive the formula based on the number of particles and number of voids. Okay, so now we have calculated actually that the number of particles in this particular 0.5 moles of any substance is always equal to 3 into 10 to the power 23, because 1 mole of every substance is this much. So half mole of every substance will have these many number of particles. So this number of particles is actually what is equal to n. That is the number of particles which form the crystal. So these many are the number of particles. So tetrahedral voids are always 2n. Whatever is the number of particles, double of that is tetrahedral void. So 3 into 10 to the power 23 into 2. So 6 into 10 to the power 23 again is the number of tetrahedral voids. Octahedral voids. Octahedral voids are n. And these n are this 3 into 10 to the power 23. And total number of voids, this plus this, because total voids are tetrahedral plus octahedral voids. So total voids 6 into 10 to the power 23 plus 3 into 10 to the power 23. So 9 into 10 to the power 23 is the total number of voids which are present in the given crystal. Okay. Next question will do. A compound is formed by two elements M and N. M and N. The element N forms CCP. The element N forms CCP. That means N is equal to N. Okay, means the number of particles we always denote by N. So don't be confused. This is the name for particle. This is the number of particles N. And atoms of M occupy 1/3 of the tetrahedral void. Similar to the previous question again. And the particles of N are 1/3 of the tetrahedral voids. 1/3 of 2N, because tetrahedral voids are 2N. So actually it is equal to 2/3N. So M is 2. N is equal to N is to 2/3N. That is equal to 3:2. So formula is M3N2. Okay, major mistakes in these questions are done in writing this. Instead of M3N2, most of you get confused and write M2N3. So remember that when you are taking ratios, first you solve it. 2/3 will become 3:2, and then 3 belongs to this and 2 belongs to N. This should be the formula. Wait, we have written wrong. M first, it should come first, na? The number of M is to N written, then we have written M is to N, so M is 2/3N. Values also should see again. Just by writing, changing the places again, the formula was coming wrong. M is to N, 2/3N, and N is N. Now it will come correct. 2:3. M is to N is equal to 2:3. So formula is M2N3. The same thing which I told, already done by me also. But instead of changing here, the mistake was done in the first step. That here we have put the values in a wrong way. So correct formula will be M2N3. Okay. So this is one type of questions which are possible from this chapter. Second type of questions are, before going to solve questions of any other book, please solve all questions of your NCERT solved as well as in text as well as back exercise. If you do those questions, hardly any question is left which you cannot do, because only the datas are changed but the pattern remains the same. Then next formula. Now the question based on the formula D is equal to Zm upon A cube into Na, where Z is the number of particles in the given crystal, M is the molecular mass, A cube is the dimension length of the cube, Na is the Avogadro number, D is the density. Based on this also, most of the times questions are asked. Silver forms CCP lattice, and X-ray studies of this crystal show that edge length of its unit cell is 408.6 pm. Now in these questions, silver forms CCP. Here CCP, HCP, one more is there, BCC. This is important because you have to mention here Z. In this formula Z is given, so you have to see that which crystal, because Z will be different. If it is simple cubic, then Z will be 1. If it is CCP or SCP, you have to put the value of Z 4, and if it is BCC, then you have to put the value of Z to be 2. So this is important in this question. So silver forms CCP, that means in this question Z is equal to 4 CCP. And its crystal shows that the edge length of its unit cell is 408.6. Edge length means A, 408.6 picometer. Now whether to convert it in meter or centimeter, this we will decide according to the remaining values which are given. Calculate the density of the silver atomic mass given. What we have to calculate is density is equal to what? Atomic mass of silver, capital M, is given 107.9 grams, units or grams. Now if we are writing it in grams, then we will convert this in centimeters. Okay, either CGS we will follow or MKS we will follow. If you convert this in kilogram, then you can take this in meter. Okay, so depending on that what unit we are using, we will just put the values. What we have to find is density is equal to Z value is 4, is 107.9 grams we are keeping. Then Na is 6.022 into 10 to the power 23 into 408.6 into 10 to the power minus 8 minus 10 centimeter whole cube, because the formula has A cube. Only these questions are just simply formula based. Only you have to identify that which value is to be put, and then only calculation to give the value of, get the value of density. It's coming 10.5. Okay, this is one type of question which is given. One more type of question based on the same formula. Now in this question you had to find D, maybe in some question you have to find Z, maybe in some you have to find molecular mass. So basic formula use will be simple, no complication in this type of numericals. Only there is complication in calculation. Still mistake is done in these questions. How the mistake is done in these questions? When you have to do the whole cube of it. That time generally what we do, we do the whole cube of the power, but generally we don't do the whole cube of the remaining value. Maximum times this mistake has been observed. Also conversion of the dimension, this A value, is not done by a maximum student. So these things if you will remember, then these questions are easy. Conversion, right unit. Okay, one more last question. An element has a body-centered cubic structure. Now here it is important. BCC means the Z value is given to you 2. Z is number of particles per unit cell. Now the density of the element is 7.2. Density is given 7.2 grams per centimeter cube. How many atoms are present in 208 grams of the element? What they are asking is how many atoms are present in 200 grams of this element. Okay. Now in 200 grams of this element, how many are present? They are not telling that what actually is the exact molecular mass of the given compound. They are just asking in 200 grams how many, 208 grams how many atoms of this element are present. So first we will calculate the total volume of this particular crystal having dimension values given to you. A is also given. Yes, one more thing is given, that is the edge length is 288 picometer. This is also given. Okay, now edge length is given, so what we will do, first we will find out the volume of complete unit cell, that is 288 picometer. We can convert it, this is given in gram per centimeter cube, so let it be 288 into 10 to the power minus 10 whole cube. This is A cube. Okay, so the value comes, let us write the value, 2.39 into 10 to the power minus 23 centimeter cube. This is A cube, volume of the unit cell. Okay, now second thing what we have to do is that we will find out the volume of the given mass which is given. This is the total volume actually. We don't know what is the actual mass. Okay, so first we calculate mass per unit volume is density. So we have to calculate volume. So it will be m by d. Okay, so mass because in question it is given an element crystallizes. Okay, density in 200 grams. So 208 grams and density is given 7.2. That will give the volume of the given mass 208. For this much mass, the volume occupied coming is after calculating. So it comes 28.88 centimeter cube. Clear? That means what? Total volume occupied by one unit cell is this much. Total volume of this much mass which is given 208 is 28.88 centimeter cube. So if one unit cell A cube has the total volume this much, so this volume must have how many unit cell present in this we will calculate. Is this clear? What we have done is, first we have calculated A cube, total volume of one unit cell. Second thing what we have done is that whatever given mass is there, 208, and density is given of the given element, name of the element is not given. According to that, the volume of that particular element is this. So this much volume is occupied by one unit cell. So this much volume will have how many unit cells, this we have to calculate. Okay. So number of unit cells. Okay. So number of unit cells value is coming 28.88 divided by 2.39 into 10 to the power minus 23. This is the volume of the given mass. This is the volume of one unit cell. This gives the number of unit cells present in this volume. That number comes 12 into 10 to the power 23 unit cells. Now we obtain the number of unit cells. Okay. Now in question what was asked? How many atoms are present in 200 grams of element? So 12 into 10 to the power 23 is the number of unit cells, and in BCC per unit cell the number of particles are 2. So multiply this number by 2. So 24 into 10 to the power 23 number of atoms are present. This type of questions are little difficult.